of your various films. We've actually got your latest film. I know you are a very prolific author of no means repute. You've written so many books, as I have it here. And of course, to my listeners and of course my audiences worldwide, my name is Nana Osagyeo and you are watching the Voice of London Television. I'm in conversation with Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI. Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI is a medical doctor that actually came from P. That is sometimes the big interview with Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI. So if you are watching me, our viewers across the world, the global world, I'm going to speak about the film Legacy Africa, which Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI produced, executively produced, and also starred as the lead actor in that film. It's a very interesting film, a background where coming from abject poverty, made his way to one of the best schools in Ghana, in Fransepem, and then ended up in Germany. The person, as a young man who cannot even speak a word of German, was able to attend the German medical school, came out with flying colors, and now a top-notch doctor in the United Kingdom. Once again, Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI, welcome to the big interview on Voice of London Television with a feed to our Voice of London Radio and all our social media handles, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. PEPRAH GYAMFI.
I normally refer to myself as medical doctor, author, evangelist, and Africanist.
I like that. Doctor, author, evangelist, yes. And then you haven't added the producer bit of it as well.
Oh, that came just recently, so I can add a producer, actor, executive producer,
marketing, branding. Yes. So I have a book here written by the prolific author, Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI. I've got 4 books here. The Making of Legacy Africa by Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI. And then I also have the Radical Therapy for Africa's Look-alike. There you have it there. And then I also have Legacy Africa itself, Legacy Africa, which is the film itself. So you can read the book and also enjoy the film aspect of the book as well, which has been released. The film was actually premiered in Accra, Ghana, and then it's been premiered here in London on the 3rd and then the 4th of October at the Picture House in Hackney, Mare Street, directly opposite the Hackney Council. So you cannot miss it. We've got all the buses going there. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of the film. First of all, Doc, let me congratulate you for this film. Well done and kudos to your elbow.
Thank you very much, Nana. Thank you very much. It required a lot of work, but I also want to acknowledge the whole production team, in particular the director, Confidence Losu in Accra, Ghana. If you are watching me, Confidence, bravo.
Well done, Godfidence. And sometimes I forget the Godfidence and I always say confidence. And it's very close to confidence. So, Director Godfidence, we thank you so much for the hard work and the brilliant job that you've done. Wonderful. Yeah, so Doc, a great film. Everybody that saw the trailer is just, marvels about such a film coming from a black man, or should I say an African. and can any good thing come from Africa? This Legacy Africa film goes to prove that. And like Kwame Nkrumah said, given the chance, the black man can manage his own self. And you've got to prove that with this film. And so let's get to the nitty-gritty once again. So how did you decide, and when did you decide to actually go for the film?
Okay, Nana, if you are talking about a study for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, you know, when I was, I finished secondary school and I was in Accra, I was writing for the People's Evening News from the radical Pan-Africanist People's Evening News by Osagyeo. And one of the slogans of the paper was Osagyeo Kwame Nkrumah saying, "I have sown the seed and it would germinate. Kwame Nkrumah never dies." I'm saying this because this Legacy African film is an inspiration. So it is like Nkrumah never dies. Though he's dead, his ideas that inspired me have sown the book, Legacy Africa, in which I reiterated some of his own concepts of how Africa can move forward. And the book was launched on Nkrumah's birthday, 21st September 2023 in Accra. But unfortunately, it was not well attended. But since I wanted still to propagate the ideas in the book, I got the inspiration to turn it into a film. Like the saying goes, if the mountain would not come to Muhammad, then Muhammad would go to the mountain, or the other way around. So the idea was that if I would not get people to read the book, then I'm going to do a film, and the film will bring out the ideas of the book.
Powerful there. And so we are so glad, you've actually acting, you've spoken, you've talked the talk and actually walked the walk. Marvelous indeed. So how I understand the film was actually filmed in London and then Accra, Ghana, West Africa. Can you take us through the filming bits in London and then the bits in Accra?
Okay, so it started all in London because basically the book Legacy Africa is based on a dream. And in this dream, the elderly African doctor, was sitting in a park in London. As I was sitting in the park and relaxing, a young African boy passed me by. He was coming from school and he looked upset and he kicked a ball against me or towards me. So we engaged a conversation. I asked him why he was upset, and he said he was being bullied in school by virtue of his African heritage. So I asked him to sit down, my friend, and I decided to bait him up. So as I was speaking to him, his schoolmate by the name of Bola passed by. So she joined me. So together we went into a cafe in London to talk about the problems of Africa and find solutions to it. So that was the first part of the film. So as I was in the film, as I speak to them, we flash back to my childhood days in Africa, how I was born in that humble situation of village called Mpitimpi, and how I make it to medical school. So that is how so part of the filming was done in London, and then it went back to Ghana to trace my childhood and the steps that I took to medical school in Ghana, in Germany. And then we brought up about all the problems of Africa. It was also filmed how the politicians go about paying their way to power, giving money for the votes, and how when they get to power, they don't keep their word.
Yeah.
So that's how the film is about. I don't want to say everything, otherwise it will be exciting.
Yes, we keep it that way. All right, so my audience is worldwide, and of course we've got the TikTok working well, and I think My Lieutenant Sir John is going to give me my TikTok thing, and then we're going to roll that as well, in addition to the various TikTok stuff. So I think I've got my engineer giving me that. But in the interim, Doc, can you please, did you envisage that you were really prepared for the budgetary of this film? How was it? How did you find it?
Okay, Nana, you know, as I said, I've written about 40 to 50 books. And even one day, I think I spoke with one of my books called Poverty Crusade. And I think you brought up the idea that you could make a film out of it. And you are not the only person who has mentioned about 5, 6 of my books. People are saying I should film them. But I decided to choose this particular one because I thought the storyline was simple, so I could eventually finance it myself.
Right.
But I didn't have any budget to start with,
Yes.
so it was a step-by-step approach. And I must say that what rescued me, or what made the film possible, was my little village in Pitimpi again, because we did about 50% of the shooting in that village.
Yes.
And under the situation,
Yeah.
I managed to save a lot of money.
Right.
So I used maybe 10% of what normally it should have cost to film that in a place like London.
Right.
Yeah, so that is how eventually I managed to go through the project.
Well done. I just wanted to have a feel, and our audiences also have a feel about how you went about it, because it's not easy at all. And once again, well done to that, and bringing the book to life, as I like to put it. Now, the film will be shown in PEPRAH House in London, and we are inviting every Tom, Dick, and Harry, the Pan-African community, to come and give you the maximum support, okay, and then experience the beauty and the talent involved, and the storyline and all that, beautifully casted and wonderfully produced. Doc, let's look at the sufferings and the hardships in Africa, because I think Pintempi and other villages in Ghana represents other villages in Africa. And what you went through, before you became a medical doctor, also is reflected in the book. How does that make you feel, seeing that being reflected in the book, for others to also be encouraged, so that we can learn from it, and how we can also transform and better the lifestyle of our fellow human beings that are deprived?
Yeah, okay. It all goes back to the book Legacy Africa, where I bring up all the ideas. Basically, I'm just following the footsteps of Osagyeo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Right.
The great man said, the independence of Africa is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the whole of Africa.
Yeah.
And I want to beg to quote him, or to revise a bit of that saying.
Yeah.
The independence of Africa is meaningless unless it is linked up to the eradication of abject poverty in Africa. And I think we can make it, because I think it was Nkrumah who said that Africa is one of the richest continents, but the problem is that the population is poor. So in the book Legacy Africa, I set up to outline, based on the thinking of Nkrumah, how we can solve this problem. You made a big mistake by not going with him when he came about with a one African government, or like a continental army for the whole of Africa. You could save a lot of money. I make the point in my book. Africa has got 54 boats at the United Nations, but it counts for nothing compared to 1 vote of China. So that is what Nkro was suggesting, that we go together, we move together, and to save costs and get money to spend on the poor. I outline in my book, Legacy Africa, I set examples of, for example, Nana, we have African embassies within Africa. How many of them? A huge number. And we need money to keep all these embassies going. So I asked myself, why can't we, all Africa, maybe set up African houses in the West, the North, and the East, and the West to cater for our citizens, rather than Ghana sending ambassadors to Kenya, to all corners of Africa, and the money involved. So these are some of the ideas that I want to float for the next generation. That is why the film is also called Legacy Africa.
That's great. That's great. So it must be very sad to see that the great man, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, had actually laid the right foundation, and we got this foundation derailed, and your film is actually showcasing this life, the difficulties, what you have to go through, and yet Kwame Nkrumah was transforming that, and then unfortunately we got some unscrupulous military men to, get the foreign powers to, derail their mentality and getting Kwame Nkrumah to be, deposed. Let me put it that way. That must be very sad, because it looks as if Nkrumah could have done it.
Yeah, and okay, my idea is that it's never too late. So we could start with, okay, I think now we are trying to do this African common market.
Yes.
That is something that he proposed 60 years ago. But it's never too late, so we can move forward. For example, I'm thinking that, for example, if you consider the country, the UK, how many embassies from Africa are based in London? We all paid for the rent and for the salary of 54 or so representatives of Africa in London. Very expensive. Why don't we, for example, build an African house? We all bring our money together, and African Union house to house all these embassies. You see the point?
Yes.
It can save a lot of money. And also the United Nations, New York is a very expensive place. And we have how many representatives paying the rent, accommodation of all these 54 countries. So in the long run, you don't have any money left to spend on the poor. But poverty eradication is my top priority, rather than using money to spend on these embassies and so forth and so on. So that is, in the nutshell, all that my film is about: to motivate the youth of Africa to move forward and do all they can towards eradicating poverty from the continent.
Powerful. I mean, the idea of even Africa having one embassy to represent 54 countries. That means it's going to be one rent instead of 54 rent.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
You could save money. You see the point? I don't know how much we spend in every month paying the rent of all this in place, a very expensive place like New York. You see, that is why China has an advantage. So that big population of China, they have one embassy in the US or in the EU. So the youth of Africa should think of ways of saving money, and also when you talk about the military, the armies, it was like they say every country should have its army. Okay, let's take Ghana, and let's take the army of Ghana, and we have a standing army waiting to fight war against who? Against Togo, against Ivory Coast, against Burkina Faso. They are all parts of the AU. The real threat to Africa is terrorism, like Boko Haram and all those things. So we could set up an African deployment force, so aimed at the terrorists from these areas. So you could position them in the four corners of the continent, north, south, east, and west. And all other inter-African conflicts, you can be solved at the AU level. You see the point?
Yes.
This,
So basically, we can have like a NATO in Africa, you know.
correct, something like that. And it
Yes.
all boils down to saving money and spending the money on the poor. The poor, poverty alleviation is my priority. That
Great
is what I have
stuff.
to deal with. So
Yes.
that our young people will not travel over treacherous paths over the Sahara, go to Libya, take boats and sink in the Mediterranean. You see the point?
That's brilliant idea. But I know it's not too late, and a journey of 1,000 miles, the first step has to be taken. And you've taken the first step and enlightening, and many a million, enlightening all of us. And you've not just only put it in a book, you've also come out with a film, which goes to showcase the beauty of this film, you know. And I'm so happy. Now, when you look at the film itself, and I'm yet to see the full film, but at least I've seen the trailers, and it's just smashing. Very beautiful film. When you look at the content and the script itself, goes to tell you that these are professionals. And is this your first film?
Yeah, this is my first film. Actually, Nana, I think we met for a long time. All the time we were talking about books. So we were talking about my books, and I never dreamt of going into film production until, as I said, because this book was so important to me, and I wanted this idea to go out there instead of sinking them in the pages of books and nobody's reading. So that is why I ventured. And by God's grace, there are so many ideas. There are a lot of ideas contrasting the lifestyle in the West to that of Africa. I have so many film ideas. For example, I just cite one example. I watch a documentary in Germany where veterinary medicine, where dogs were having intensive, they were being kept on intensive wards. Animals kept on intensive wards in where compared to that, some people somewhere in my native village, they have fractures and they don't have any treatment. So these are some of the ideas that you could mend into films to have the contrast the situation of this world and funds and use the funds to alleviate poverty. So if there's any investor out there who has the means to come up, you could join together in a venture to do some of these films, highlight and contrast the situation here, and get funds to invest in poverty alleviation.
Great. I see you are very passionate about the poverty alleviation. You don't just speak about it, but you put words into action. And that's the
you know where I'm coming from. In my book, I write, I was born in the little village with a big name of Mpitimpi. And my labor ward was a dilapidated bathroom served as my labor ward. There was no specialist doctor or nurse to take care of me. Providence helped my mother. So in the heat of the African sun, I was born into the heat. And when I experienced the heat, I cried on the top of my voice. I wanted to go back to my mother's womb, but it was too late. And so I have this experience, and it's in my blood to try to do the little I can to help alleviate poverty.
Great. This is powerful. And we actually going to see what this film on the 3rd of October, which is a Friday, and then the following day, the Saturday, which is the 4th of October, all happening at the Picture Houses Cinema in Hackney, opposite the Hackney Council, Mare Street, London E5. And you've got all the buses going through that section of that particular town, Hackney Town. And then there's the film to also be shown in the Midlands, TBC to be confirmed by end of October or early November in the Midlands at Leicester, and then the film will be back in London again. Now, like the plight of Africa being shown in this beautiful film, Legacy Africa, with Doctor coming out to give us a gist about what life is about in Africa, growing up as a youth, being deprived of so many things, and having the passion to alleviate poverty in Africa. That brought the birth of this book, Legacy Africa. And Doc said, we can do it. And the journey of 1,000 miles, the first step has to be taken. Now, Doc, having put this plight of Africans into the book, do you think our colonial masters and the current, should I say, Western world would allow Africa a free hand to really manage themselves? Because it seems that there is this perception that when Africa takes a stride, our colonial masters don't like it. Do you think we can do it if we don't come to a consensus or educate many a million to be aware that unless we get focus and we are distracted by money from the West, we are always going to betray our own self, and this beautiful poverty alleviation dream will become a thing of the past?
Yeah, okay. In my book, in fact, the book Legacy Africa, initially the title was Antidote 8020. Antidote 8020. That is my antidote for Africa. And it means that in my view, others may disagree.
Yes.
In my view, 80% of the problems of Africa is homemade. And because if somebody comes to your house and he just try to exploit you, you have to use the brain that God gave us, our God-given brain, to be. And I think it's important that you education. Going back to Nkrumah, you know, he started the young pioneers. During that time, people were just accusing him of this and that. But recently, I went online to look at the tenets, the principles of the young pioneers. All that it stood for was nationalism, honesty, integrity, accountability. So I don't know, when you overthrew him, why should we do away with ideas which are good and move us forward? Our education must go back to these tenets. You must know that home is sweet home, and you know, one idea blends into the other. For example, personally, as a doctor, I don't see the point why people will fly from Ghana or Africa to seek medical treatment in Europe, the politicians. Because at the end of the day, the human body is the same. And the doctors in Africa, they are trained to also treat patients. The only difference is the equipment. So why don't you purchase the equipment? And if maybe we are lacking in a specialist gynecologist, you can give that person scholarship maybe after postgraduate to go and do 2 years and come back. You have to build everything at home, because in the film, I don't want to betray everything, but it will be highlighted. Because if you are a millionaire and you get a heart attack in Ghana, if you want to go to Europe for treatment, by the time the flight, 8-hour flight, gets to London, you are dead. Yes. So it's important that because after 60 years, why should you go outside Africa for treatment? It's a shame as far as I'm concerned. Why can't we put up these hospitals? You charter private planes to take our vice presidents or our presidents to England or elsewhere, why we could just import those equipment and give it to our doctors to perform.
Right, that's a massive point there. These are big ideas, and I actually like the antidote 80-20. Yes, so the antidote 80-20 is just fascinating, really, really. Yes, so I think that, with support, I'm calling on all our viewers, all the Pan-Africanists across the globe, whether, cutting across all humanity, whether you are yellow or blue or black or white, it doesn't matter. You can join this Pan-African movement. It's a foundation. We are in support of Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI, the antidote 80-20, and we can start from somewhere, like he said, a journey of 1,000 miles. The first step has to be taken. And Doc, I'm in full support.
Now, may I come on another point? Because I just, when it comes to Africa, this Pan-African, why I'm so much passionate for Africa to move forward. When I was a student in Germany, whenever somebody of African descent came to admission, whether he was from Uganda or from Gambia, anywhere, they will look up after me and say, Robert, come, somebody from Africa is here in admission. Because they were thinking that if you speak the same language, so if the person could not speak German, they wanted me to go and translate. You see the point?
Yes.
So from the outsiders, the color is the same.
Yes.
That's the most important. But sometimes we begin to call ourselves, as Nkrumah said, some say you are Anglophone, some say you are Francophone, but at the end of the day, the color is we are all Africans. You see the point? So yes. We don't have any problem at all that these borders in Africa, it's a boredom. It just, I came from Ghana and recently, and in my conversation, it came up with the issue of borders. And some of them were saying that traveling from Ghana to Nigeria, passing through borders, we have a lot of time wasting and a lot of hassle to get through the borders. And I said to them, wait a moment. Africa was partitioned by the Europeans. But now, the Europeans themselves, they are doing away with their borders. You see the point? The borders that were imposed on us by others, they are doing away with their borders, but we are maintaining them. For what point?
All right, that's a big point. Let me just quickly acknowledge our social media audiences that have joined us. We have Palawezi, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We have Lugadoso Semwenka. Thank you. We have Zara, very beautiful lady, Zara, thank you. And then we have Jesus is Alive. Yes, what a name. Nice name, Lady Doris. Welcome. We want to thank Talon Eagle. Thank you so much for watching. Neil Richards. Thank you. Margaret Kubani. Thank you for joining us. We have Lady Precious. Thank you. Jojo Say. Welcome. We have James Muchani. Thank you for joining us. Lady Flavia Shak. Thank you for joining us. Lady Gifty. Thank you. Appreciate you. Nikki. We appreciate you. Conis Mukasi. We thank you so much for joining us. Granny Margaret. Thank you. Princess Anan. Thank you. Doris. Thank you. Ubeda. Thank you for joining us. And we have Lady Sunshine's Niger. Yes, that's our beautiful Lady Niger watching us. Yes, beautiful Nigerian lady. We love you to the maximum. Oba Comfort Menu. Yes, thank you for joining us. Lady Aggie, thank you. Mama Evelyn. We have Luzinga Gamwuvwa. Thank you. Akwesi join us as well. Chukudi join us. Mother Lucy Akwesi, Iksak Clement. We have Rascat Media themselves joining us. Look, the names are just flooding in and they're enjoying the program to the maximum. Thank you. We acknowledge you. I'll continue with the rest of the names, yeah? But in the interim, let me get Dr. back in there so that we can all enjoy this wonderful conversation with Legacy Africa, which is a film acted and produced by our top-notch medical doctor, PEPRAH GYAMFI. And I'm with Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI talking about excerpts of the film and relating it to the plight of Africa and the solution, the holistic solutions to the problems of Africa. And that's the conversation and interview on this great top interview we are having on Voice of London television with a feed to Voice of London radio and all our social media handles. Doc, the story is so interesting. You know, I mean, a lot of people have been captivated, and I'm getting a lot of the audiences saying they're gonna be there, and so I'm reminding them once again. Somebody says, where is it being shown? Yes, Lady Aggie, yes, this film is being shown in Hackney at the Picture House, Mare Street, directly opposite the Hackney Council, and all buses goes through there, 56, 38, most of the buses. And as the week, we've barely got about 2 weeks to go, we'll make sure this platform and channel will be bringing you the very buses and the address, and of course, some of the trailers will be playing through on this particular channel, including our social media handles. Doc, it's fascinating. The viewers we are getting is just amazing, amazing. People loving it to the maximum. And I have a question. Yes, one question is coming from Clement Iksak. Yes, Iksak. And then I can see, okay, he's got the English flag, somewhere English flag. So it's one of us, bro. Is asking, when can this be a reality? When do we think we can get this to become a reality? That's his question.
Well, the African eradication of African poverty, or what?
Yes, that is all these holistic solutions we are speaking about. When can we anticipate to at least start to have a little bit of the reality in terms of elevating their poverty? Because sometimes we have big dreams and we say it, and then when you go to the grounds, you know, it's very sad to witness same thing years after years. Like you said, Kwame Nkrumah did it, Gaddafi did it in Libya. People had free welfare state, free hospital. Nobody sleeps outside. There was no homelessness in Libya. You know, like Ibrahim Traore is doing. He set the stage, and he's only 34 years old. What a guy, you know. And go on, Doc.
I think education is very important. And in my view, the Pan-Africanists, the youth should also be active in politics. Maybe you can form African Union parties in various countries across the continent and educate the youth, the people about some of the things that is their benefit, is their right. No, I think people don't have they don't know that the government should take care of them. They think that okay, every 4 years the politicians come and talk and they just buy our votes. You don't have to sell your vote, and it's important. You should start with education. I think you have to go back to Nkrumah's ideas of the African what do you call it?
The African can manage itself if given the choice. But don't you also think that the very people that get education, some of them come over to the West to get education, they get into power back home. Is this same people keep stealing the state assets and monies to even bring it back to Europe or West to reinvest the stolen money that is supposed to go to this alleviation of poverty? And so, like you rightly said, education to offset or conscientize the youth for them to become very much aware. But we are conscientizing them 60 years on, they are still corrupt. How do we deal with that?
I think you copy the system of the West without following the rules. You know, with all due respect, you cannot struggle with what is the right. You cannot fight with success. You know, I've lived in the West. The system works. I think you have to study the rule of law. You see, the rule of law. Now, if you are driving your car and the police arrest you in London, they are going to give you points for what. And if they have to fine you, they will just give you a ticket, and the money goes straight to the government. So we have we have uh, you have adopted their system, but if you don't go according to the rules, then you cannot go around to blame anybody. So that is why
Yes.
you have to start, you have to teach the concept of nation building in schools. I think our syllabus must be changed or adapted so you understand what is the nation, what are the rights, responsibilities. You have to pay your tax, and with that same money, the government takes care of you. If you have to love our nation, based on increments, young pioneers ideology, or not ideology, the tenets. So you should you should you should it's not never too late. Our education system must change. The African personality. That was what I was about to. African personality. You must know that home sweet home, and there are no supermen in the world. I've been a doctor. I've treated Europeans. I've treated Africans. We all have the same anatomical build-up. There are no magicians. But as I said, the system. We must love our nation, and this corruption must end. Accountability. If it is a contract to build a road, it has to be well done, and those who are going to supervise the road, make sure it is well done. But cutting corners here and there will not help us. So if you keep on cutting corners, then we are not going to move forward.
Yes. So, Doc, with the film, after finishing the film, um, that must have given you some lifts to really come out very hard to get this, the reality of the book implemented, in terms of getting poverty alleviated. Because I see you talk with passion, and the book also depicts your transition from birth, when you came outside your mom and then you felt the heat, you nearly went back and you cried, which was a very interesting one. So your journey through school to Germany, and then now in the United Kingdom, and then you often go back home, seeing what you went through and the people still going through. I know we've spoken about some holistic solutions and stuff. My question is that, do you think these corrupt leaders in office would allow such a venture to bear fruit? Because then we are going to block them from stealing. And I understand that sometimes they have cartels and groups that fights for them. Isn't that going to be a very hard tax?
I think the leadership, which is very important. If you get one person of integrity, for example, I don't want to mention names, but a lot of people are talking about Rwanda. They are setting example. If the leadership is not corruptible, if the person up there like is a Nkrumah type of person who is selfless. So that is why we need these selfless people. That's why we have to show them the way, that through my book, to inspire them, and they will fight to become leaders of maybe countries like Nigeria. And if the top person is uncorruptible, then it will go from down up to down. So it's not impossible to make it.
That's true. And I also think that once we get a very upright person like Ibrahim Traore, is an example. You mentioned Rwanda, Paul Kagame there. and some few leadership in Africa that are quite doing well. And if we can, I don't know what the AU is even doing, the African Union and their setup, because I think if we can get that particular leadership to galvanize the other leaderships, imagine Ibrahim Traore being the leader of African Union. I'm sure solutions will just start bearing fruits. That's a very interesting one there. Doc, is your reception okay? You hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. So we need to work on getting the right leaderships, uncorruptible leaderships, and uncorrupt leaders. That will go a long way to help alleviate poverty, and will also benefit majority of the people, because they wait every 4 years. They claim democracy, elections are being held, nothing really happens. People come and mail the money, yet the resources, like you said earlier. My point is that the other day I was just, I have the Kwame Nkrumah book here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The man of ideas.
Exactly. And I've got about 4 of his books by my bedside, so I'm a Nkrumahist. I believe that I'm the reincarnated Nkrumah, because and so I believe in everything that you are doing, Doc, including this massive film. So 100% support. My other point I want to make is that with this laudable project, now we bring in the books to the screens for many a million to watch and all that. These corrupt leaders, 54 countries. And I said to myself, in the Western world, in Europe and America, it is a bed. It's the same bed we can get in Africa. We got the timbers and the woods. Then I look around and I say, the buildings. But Africa has got a lot of rocks and sand and water and cement. You can mix and get buildings built for everybody. Nobody should sleep outside. There shouldn't be any homelessness to the mercy of the mosquitoes. And then I look at food. The Europeans, look, for 9 months, we have to go through the autumn, winter, spring, and then before we get 3 months of summer. Just the other day, I saw the weather just change. I thought, at least I've been wearing singlet and fresh shirts and feeling the breeze a bit. All of a sudden, the cold, I have to start wearing the jackets. So Africa, with the soil, the arable land, the facilities, the resources, Africa should not have anybody sleeping outside to the mercy of the mosquitoes. So if the leaders are not going to take action, we are going to form this freedom fighting spirit or poverty alleviation spirit from abroad here to galvanize the masses there, because action must take place. Enough is enough.
I think
we need to empower this.
I will encourage the intelligent, the honest African youth to get themselves engaged in politics. We have to form, as I said, African Pan-African parties all over the places, and with all that integrity, and we educate the individuals. And for example, you have to set our priorities right. I don't know how the amount of billions we spend keeping our standing armies. I'm saying that the world is a dangerous place, but we have to just prioritize and see. We have to ask questions, review. Is it necessary for each country to keep their own army? We could use maybe one tenth of the budget to join our others to form this African, NATO or whatever you are calling it, and then that 90% savings you could invest in the youth and putting out the houses. You see, look at the other day I was reading. Look at the foreign service, foreign missions, the money that we are using to keep our embassies alive. 54 countries in the whole of Africa sending embassies to the whole world. You could save billions to put up houses for the poor. You see the point? So we have to start from somewhere.
Doc, I'm only interjecting. I'm not cutting you. And that's a very laudable and a very salient point. Do you know that all the attaches that works at the embassy, when they are flown into the various countries or abroad, each have their own bungalows and houses being bought and paid
And
by
paid?
the government.
Yes.
And they have houses that sometimes those of us in the mainstream can't even afford it. In posh areas, you know, when you go to London, in other parts of London where the millionaires rose, that's where, because when Kwame Nkrumah was buying all these houses for our mission, the prices were below. And Kwame Nkrumah bought and paid everything, you know? And
Yeah.
so that can be an investment where we can channel the whole African embassy or commission into one.
Yes.
Save us how many? 54 monies.
Yes.
Exactly.
Presidential debts.
Oh, it's not necessary.
Addresses. You see the point?
We become, I was watching a program where I saw the US presidential entourage and the jets and flights, and it's just shocking. And so the West, the African leaders get influenced by such, expensive and exorbitant flights that the US can afford that.
Yeah.
Africa, we need to cut our coat according to our sizes.
Yes.
You know, and so we need to be hammering these things to the leaders and the AU. And I think the AU should wake up a bit because they've been sleeping, and it's about time we put some flame under their under them for them to hit the ground running.
They are profiting from the system because they are well housed, they are well paid, so they don't see the need for reform. But when you look at it from the background of somebody who grew up in a little village in Pitimpi, I go there all the time and see how the people are suffering on the streets. Then you get the ideas, you begin to ask questions about these established systems, because before the colonial powers came to Africa, there were no embassies. We were just moving around Africa. These are all systems that we inherited. So now we have to start asking big questions.
Great. Once again, my audience is lovely people. You are watching Voice of London television. Myself, I'm speaking to Dr. PEPRAH GYAMFI. Doctor is a medical doctor, an author with over 50 books behind him, and is also an actor, and is a multitask. Yes.
Evangelist.
An evangelist, that's very key, because a doctor is very spiritual, very spiritual. And I've had and hosted him on our channels and social media handles many times. And doctor doesn't joke when it comes to his faith. His faith. He is a very strong faith person. Yeah. So, Doc, interesting interview and interesting points, salient points that you've made. We this is so interesting. We use this at the part 1. We are going to have part 2, part 3, part 4, and then we're going to take it so that people can then absorb it properly. We cannot put everything here because look, even the books, we've got Legacy Africa. 2 generations of Africans confront the problems of the continent. So we'll be, in our next interview, we'll be actually dissecting the various points so that when people go and watch the Africa Legacy film, they can relate the film excerpts to the write-ups in the book. Yes, we're going to be going to have got some of the books here. We have the making of Legacy Africa. Yeah. So, Doc, what experience can you share with us with the making of Legacy Africa film? I think there is a very learning experience that we can pick from that because, like you said the other day, experience is the best teacher.
Yes, I started from zero. I didn't have any idea of filmmaking. So when the idea came for me to turn or adapt the book in the film, it came to the screenplay. So I wanted to take lessons in how to adapt the book into a screenplay, but something told me that you cannot do everything yourself. Jack of all trades and master of none. So I went online, and I went from Fiber. Eventually, I got a nice a person who are well uh, experienced. And interestingly, she's a lady that I got from Nigeria. So I sent the book to her, and she adapted it into the screenplay. Next, then through my research, it came to a matter of audition to selecting the cast. So I went online again, and then through there's a platform called Backstage. I'm not doing any advert for them, but that is where I landed for my online research. So I put the notices looking for the various cards. So they were assembled, and initially, I was thinking that because, okay, then the location for the various scenes, that also through online research. So eventually, I got a college in London where I hired it, where you could do a lot of the scenes related to the UK aspect. Then also through online, I hired the equipment, and I got the crew, and the issue of the director also came in. Eventually, you got one director, and as we recruited a director for the UK aspect. Actually, I think from my research, a big company, the Hollywood big mega film companies, they could have transported all their crew from here to Africa to continue there. But because of the financial situation, I got my nephew in Ghana also to do the Ghana aspect, to recruit, to do the audition. And interestingly, in the meantime, Ghana has established a well-established facilities for filming. They have companies where you can hire the equipment, and they also have agencies who help you get the location. But as I said earlier on, I was able to go to the project thanks to my little village, because about quite a great deal of the recording, the filming was done in my little village. So I could save money, a lot of money through that. And
So you're going to continue from where you were, but let me interject quickly. This village has become very popular. You've actually put it on the map. So
yes,
how do you spell the Pintimpi? Have I got it right?
Timpi, M for mother, P for
Oh,
papa, I for India, N for November, T for Tango, I for India, M for mother, P for Papa, Pintimpi,
wow.
then I for India, Pintimpi.
Powerful village, yes. And look at what the Pintimpi has brought to us. Top-notch medical doctor, a jack of all trade, a master of all. You said master of now, I say to you, master of all. Continue from where you left off.
So any tourist who wants to go to Ghana, if you go to Ghana, get a map of Ghana and go and visit in Pintimpi, my little village. So then after that, we also came to Accra to do some filming, about 20% in Accra, and then it came to the issue of post production. As a layman in the area, I didn't know that that was also very involving. Actually, the post production took about let's say about almost 50% of the budget, also for the post production. You are in that area, editing and color grading, a lot of aspects comes into it. And I must say that we finished that aspect towards the end of December, and so I flew to Ghana to do that aspect, but then I have to come back to the UK. But when I was in the UK, my director called me and said that, oh, producer, we still miss part of the storyline, so you have to do another scene in Ghana, so I had to go back to get it done. So they eventually then came the post production, and then now we are now in the stage of marketing because a lot of people have ideas. People have ideas of filming. The issue is the money. From my experience, is quite involving. But if you have an idea, maybe you pitch it and maybe you get some investor, then you can move forward.
Well done. Congratulations to you, Doc. And we are hard pressed with time. Like I said, this will be the part one. We are going to continue from the post production and how we went into the premiere and how did the premiere go in Accra, Ghana. And then we'll be also talking about London premiere that is coming on the 3rd and 4th of October 2025. Picture Houses Cinema, Met Street in Hackney, directly opposite the Hackney Council, with all the buses coming up. Doc, it's been a fascinating, time talking to you. We've learned a lot, your passion, your drive, your love for Africa, and, the endeavor to make the poverty alleviation a reality. We appreciate you for that. And together, we can all help and chip in and make this a reality. So this is the part one. We'll definitely be coming away with a part two where we're going to be talking to Doctor in the course of the week. And then we'll let you know the time. And then we'll actually post it to all of you. Doc, any final words before
Yeah,
you go?
because it's a global audience. I just want to highlight the fact that our aim is to get it to streaming platforms. So that we're working towards that one. So those who are maybe viewing from South Africa or from US, eventually we get it on a streaming platform.
Yes. So, like Doctor said, definitely the Legacy Africa film is in books. You can get it. It's on Amazon, Doc.
Yes,
Isn't it?
yes, right.
It's on Amazon as well. So you can get a book from Amazon, and it's going to be all over the global world. This is the premiering stage where it will be premiered in London. It's already been premiered in Accra, Ghana. This will be premiered 3rd and 4th of October 2025 at the Picture Houses, Mare Street, Hackney. And also will be premiered in the Midlands, Leicester, and then back to London. And then it's going to go viral on all cinemas, including TV channels. So keep watching and definitely be bringing the latest on Legacy Africa. Before Doctor goes, Doc, some of your books, The Radical Therapy for Africa's Look-alike. We'll be talking about that in one of our episodes. We got part one today. We cannot put everything in. And so we'll be talking about some of the books that you've written, interesting ones, and how to make poverty alleviation a reality in Mother Africa. Once again, thank you so much, my viewers and audiences worldwide. We want to thank you all for watching us. We want to acknowledge Doctor once again, and thank you, Doc, for making it possible and talking to us. I know your time is hard pressed, but let me ask you one more last question before you go. How do you juggle between all this and your medical practice, Doc?
Okay, at the moment I'm a self-employed doctor, so I pick and choose. So depending on my schedule, writing books, so I divide my time. Yes, in a nutshell, that's how it is.
Wow, thank you so much for clarifying that. So that is the most busiest doctor on earth, and like he said, a multitasking, jack of all trade, a master of all. Till next time, our social media handles, we want to thank you, those watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, the TikTokers. We thank you so much. And on our next one, okay, the invites. Mr. Edu, yes, I can see you there. Thank you so much. Maxwell Young, Lady Doris, we have Lady Kaninsa Champion. That's a powerful name. Okay, so we'll definitely be talking to Doctor once more. So keep it locked right here. We appreciate Doctor's time that he's had with us. Like I said, we'll be talking more with him. all is to do with the alleviation of poverty in Africa. Once again, thank you, Doctor, and thank you to our worldwide audiences. My name is Nana Osagyeo. See you